Hi, I'm Max Keiser. This is the Keiser Report. Cognitive dissonance. Trying to hold two opposing views in your mind at the same time and getting all jiggy with it. I'm not just talking about Barack Obama. Stacey Herbert, tell me more.
Oh, Max, you're talking about buy, sell, buy, sell. I'm the buyer, I'm the seller, I'm the buyer, I'm the seller, right? That's coming up next. But first, I want to say France hits back at Obama over Europe debt crisis. So, you know, Obama was on the campaign trail and blamed everything, the high unemployment, the financial catastrophe in America, on Europe. Well, French Foreign Minister Laurent Fabius on Tuesday hit back at comments by U.S. President Barack Obama about the threat of the European debt crisis, saying it had originated in the United States. He said, quote, "The crisis did not start in Europe. Lehman Brothers was not a European bank."
Well, that's what I'm saying. Cognitive dissonance on the part of Barack Obama. He can't seem to hold the truth, the facts of the global financial crisis originating in America on Wall Street, Lehman Brothers and other terrorism proponents in Wall Street with the current crisis in the jobs market, and he blames Europe. They're completely, you can't make that claim unless he's got encephalitis or he's got some kind of brain damage or he's got, cognitive dissonance. He's psychologically, he's ill-prepared to deal with this crisis.
But Max, the French banks are no better in terms of like perpetuating this cycle of debt and bogus derivatives and stuff.
Wait, let me intercede here for a second, because the French banks bought from American banks collateralized debt obligations that the rating agencies like Moody's and S&P gave AAA ratings to. They loaded up their balance sheets, then those debts exploded. It was a brazen act of financial attack from America, and, it all started in America, and Barack is deluded if he doesn't understand this.
Okay, well, we'll agree to disagree there, because I believe that a lot of the fraud happened in London. It happened in Bank Paribas, Credit Agricole, Credit Lyonnais, Deutsche Bank, UBS. All of those banks were involved in knowingly fraudulently packaging together securities that they knew to be bogus. Now, with this, I want to say, you and I recently took the Eurostar from London to Paris. And next to us was sitting a guy who was talking very loudly to one of the other passengers on the train. And he mentioned that he had worked at ConocoPhillips as an oil trader on the floor. And he said when oil went to 147, all of the actual real legitimate hedgers and oil traders were looking around just in total shock how it had even been over $90, because they said there was so much supply, there wasn't even anywhere left to store oil. And he said, well, we knew it was the banks. It wasn't us, because nobody I knew who was an oil trader who actually needed it would dare enter it at this price. And he mentioned in particular JP Morgan Chase covering losses elsewhere. Now, these are just assumptions and allegations, but I was unaware that JP Morgan even had anything to do, that they were a big player in the markets. I assumed when he was saying the banks, he was going to say Goldman Sachs. Instead, he said JP Morgan. So I went to Google and I said JP Morgan oil trading. Comes up, headline that was not covered by anybody but the Chicago Tribune. JP Morgan fined for wash trades in oil and gasoline. So Max, what is a wash trade?
Well, wash trades are entering into the market simultaneously with buy and sell orders for the sole purpose of manipulating the price. JP Morgan, it was engaged in massive wash trading as it relates to the oil market to manipulate the price higher. And as you alluded to, they've got losses elsewhere on their books, elsewhere on their balance sheet. They work their way out of these losses. They trade out of these losses by manipulating markets brazenly, illegally, obviously, and there's no accountability for this.
You know, according to the Wikipedia, on now what JP Morgan has been charged with by the NYMEX, a wash trade, not to be confused with a wash sale, is an illegal form of stock manipulation in which an investor simultaneously sells and buys shares in order to artificially increase trading volume and thus the stock price. The United States Securities and Exchange Commission defines a wash trade as a, quote, securities transaction which involves no change in the beneficial ownership of the company. So this is what the NYMEX says, is that on 10 separate occasions between January 1, 2011 and June 30th, 2011, traders employed by JP Morgan Chase executed block trades between separate legal entities with the same beneficial owner in WTI or gasoline. So during this time, Max, the price of oil rose 25% from $91 a barrel to $114.83 a barrel, which was a post-2008 peak.
Well, it can trigger a stampede in the markets. You flood the market with orders, you manipulate the price with an upward bias. This triggers a stampede of other funds and hedge funds looking to cash in on this price spike. They also make trades in concurrent markets, options markets, futures markets, to cash in on their inside information and market manipulation. They will tell you, if you put them in front of Congress or you put them in front of Charlie Rose, as Lloyd Blankfein told Charlie Rose last year when grilled about Goldman's market manipulation and wash trading, he said, well, we're making a market. That's a misnomer. That's a lie. They are engaged in wash trading in an illegal way to profit from an illegal scheme as part of a syndicate. They're criminals.
And you're right. I mean, they trigger trades from pension funds and passive investors because, as I said, this oil trader who said he was working at ConocoPhillips at the time, he said they removed themselves from the markets because they knew something was weird and not right, and that they themselves would not engage in this activity.
Or they will put on algorithmic program trading that is triggered at certain price points. Think about it as an improvised exploding device. Well, here in the markets, people's pension accounts goes kablam, because Goldman and JP Morgan have planted exploding algorithmic devices that when certain prices are triggered, the computers come in, and we know that 86% of the volume of the New York Stock Exchange is computer-driven. So it'll trigger a device, an algorithmic trade, and they know that they'll get a price spike on the upside that they then cash in on.
So CME Group, which operates NYMEX, ordered JP Morgan to pay a fine for this, Max. $30,000. Which the article points out is equivalent to just over 1/1,000,000th of JP Morgan's total employee compensation last year of $29 billion. JP Morgan also neither admitted nor denied the rule violations.
It's not a fine, Stacy Herbert. It's a bribe. There's a difference between a fine and a bribe. If you pay a regulator a small amount of money like this so that they don't prosecute you for breaking the law, that's not a fine. That's a bribe. The regulators are as culpable as JP Morgan, the rating agencies, and mainstream media in perpetrating this fraud that's causing people in Athens to blow their brains out, jump out of buildings, and all kinds of mayhem.
And how much, by the way, of their losses on silver were they covering at that time? At the same time, because you have maintained that, you know, a lot of people say, oh, Max Keiser, who cares about Jamie Dimon's huge, massive short position in the silver market? Because for every seller, there's a buyer. So it's a perfect market. Well, in this case, they're admitting to the fact that they're a buyer when there's no real seller.
No, it's wash trading. There is no market in the sense of true price discovery and buyers and sellers and conducting a free competitive market. It's wash trades that are computerized, and it's completely fraudulent. And the price of silver has been victimized by these computerized wash trades for years. Same thing for the gold market, same thing for the oil market. And as a result, it has caused revolutions in places like Egypt.
And finally, on this story, Max, the woman who made all of these trades, her name is Abel Emoumadou. And it appears that she's in London and that she is still working for the firm. JP Morgan issued a statement saying, we're confident that Abel's intentions were blameless. She is a valued member of our team.
She rips the market's face off and eats it raw. And it's not the kind of sushi you want being conducted by professionals in the market space that are manipulating prices so that price of gas and oil is completely trading like a drunk cuckoo bird.
So, you know, while all of this disaster and financial crisis and debt crisis and alleged debt crisis and blah, blah, blah is happening in Europe this week, that's why I'm focusing on making sure that behind the scenes you look at who is perhaps capitalizing on that chaos, as we saw in the oil and gas markets at the time. So we look to London again. JP Morgan faces $4.2 billion trading loss, ISI forecasts. So JP Morgan Chase, the largest U.S. bank, may report a $4.2 billion second quarter trading loss in its chief investment office in London, according to an estimate by International Strategy Investment Group. This is a lot more than they're admitting to now.
And it'll be a lot more again next week and the week after that.
Exactly.
I'm hearing $30 billion in nominal losses, and the company is insolvent, and there's going to go the way of Enron and zero.
Okay, so where are they going to go looking for paying off those losses?
I'll tell you exactly where they go to pay off the losses. The U.S. government assumes the bank is a part of a bailout, and then they're going to impose austerity measures. And by the way, probably before J.P. Morgan goes bankrupt, Morgan Stanley will go bankrupt, just for you traders out there.
And so, of course, they also nickel and dime and steal from their clients. They stole from MF Global clients. They stole from municipal counties across America. They were caught bid rigging. Here we see JP Morgan charges students 10.25% on loans. JP Morgan Chase charges Marilla Tovar as much as 10.25% annual interest on student loans, a rate as high as a credit card. Unlike the federal student loan program, which lets the consumers borrow at fixed rates directly from the government, these loans from at least 30 banks and other private lenders feature mostly variable rates that can be more than twice what some people pay in the U.S. program. So here you have that Jim Crow sort of system that you said that some people pay high rates, some people pay low rates. These are student loan debts backed by Sallie Mae, backed by the taxpayer ultimately, and JP Morgan Chase is charging people 10.25%.
Well, it's discrimination using interest rates. These are the new Jim Crow laws. Essentially, J.P. Morgan is telling students to go to the back of the bus. They have to sit in the back and pay 10, 20% interest rates and be consigned to a lifetime of indentured servitude and jump down, turn around, pick a bale of cotton. As far as all Jamie Dimon's concerned, he's a slave master. He wants to go back to the pre-Civil War days.
So 15% of the $1 trillion in outstanding debt is to these sort of lenders like JP Morgan. That's $150 billion a year. That's $15 billion that is going in excess charges to those banks. That's just a fraction of the losses that we've just said JP Morgan has on their London office desk.
Right, and when these people who have these loans and are paying this for schooling can't get jobs and they end up being unemployed and on food stamps, oh, guess who controls the food stamp market in America? JP Morgan. All right, Stacey Herbert, thanks so much for being on the Keiser Report.
Thank you, Max.
Don't go away, much more coming away. Stay right there. Hi, I'm Max Keiser. Welcome back to the Keiser Report. Time now to turn to Pierre Jovanovic. Pierre, welcome back to the Keiser Report.
Bonjour, Max.
Pierre, Barack Obama says that the economy in America is slowing down due to Europe. What is that true?
Well, thank you for Mr. Obama. I mean, this is something, yeah, why not? Why not? I just would like to remind him that, you know, the banking crisis, you know, the subprimes and all the stuff, banks going down, that was not in Europe, that was, you know, back in United States, if I remember well. It started in 2006, 2007. So, and we're hit now, you know, by the credit crunch. So, thanks, you know, and I saw just this morning, you know, that number of people, you know, on the food tickets, you know, just, you know, beat all-time high records.
Food stamps.
Food stamps. So, we don't have that here for the moment, thanks God. But I think in 1 year we will get it.
Well, I mean, people in America say, you know, they're fearful of becoming quote unquote socialist. But you live in France, and people in America say France is socialist. We don't want to be like France. But as you just pointed out, America has a new all-time record, close to 50 million people on food stamps of 300 million. That, to me, smacks of something you'd see in a socialist country. Isn't that true?
Yes, it's true. But, you know, where we have now a socialist president, but take a look at this. The head of the Palais de l'Élysée, where Mr. François Hollande lives and he's working, you know, for France, he hired a big wig from the bank Rothschild. You know, as Obama hired a big wig from the JP Morgan Bank. So, you know, I think we're not, you know, we're not out of this mess.
Speaking of big guys and funny hats, let's talk about the Pope.
Yes.
The Pope and JP Morgan are in a bit of a street brawl in that JP Morgan has closed down the account with the Vatican. What's going on there, Pierre?
Yeah, this was the weirdest wire I've seen so far. You know, the JP Morgan made a statement, public statement, that they are asking the Vatican to leave the bank. You know, but technically they give them like 30 days to leave the bank because of, listen to this, lack of transparency. You know, this is weird.
So JP Morgan is accusing the Pope of lack of transparency.
Yeah, right. I would like to add something regarding the Vatican, because this is absolutely, as I said previously, it's not normal. So, as we can see, what's happening right now. For instance, this morning, the cops went, you know, down to the house of the previous head of the Vatican Bank, Mr. Tedeschi, to take everything, and maybe they will take him in custody. I don't know yet. But the point is that the Vatican Bank is in trouble. This is what it means. And it would be not the first time. You know, the first time the bank was saved, Vatican Bank was saved by the Opus Dei. Everybody knows that, okay? But this time, I don't think that the Opus Dei is going to save them.
So Opus Dei won't step in as they've done. Not even Mel Gibson apparently can save the Vatican. But, you know, going back to the 80s, I believe, the Vatican went through a crisis where they were caught laundering money for the mafia.
Yeah.
And I believe Roberto Calvi, who was their banker, was found swinging from the Blackfriars Bridge in London.
Right. He committed suicide with 2 bullets, you know, in his head. You know, that's an interesting point. And he get hanged too. So it's a very good point, you know. I don't know how to commit suicide like that, though.
So this idea that the Vatican's balance sheet is even dirtier than JP Morgan's, I don't hear any of the global diaspora of Catholics, you know, voicing their concern that the Pope's, God Christ vicar on earth is possibly involved in a salacious scandal accounting fraud that not even JP Morgan wants to get in touch with. How come there's no outcry from the global Catholic population?
I think the Catholics don't care too much anymore about the Vatican, specifically after all the scandals. There's something so wrong right now in the Vatican, and you have seen the last scandal. So majordome, you know, he was caught, you know, stealing documents, so they throw him in jail. I mean, the Vatican jail didn't serve, so I think that's 200 years. So the Vatican is going to explode, but it's going to explode because they are bankrupt. That's the reason. And there is a good book which has been written on the Vatican and finances, and it's showing, you know, how the Vatican is selling right now all their real estate, you know, trying to, you know, to get some money. But the Wall Street explosion of the 29th of September 2008, you know, led the Vatican to on the edge of bankruptcy. So it's important, and that's why it's. And just coming back to JP Morgan made this statement, you know, where we asked the Vatican to leave, but be sure that the Vatican has still have an account opened. This is just, you know, like some noise, you know. The Vatican is not in JP Morgan. I don't trust it. I think that Blind Master is interested in their gold and silver.
Right, and so let's return to Blythe Masters for a second, because the London desk of JP Morgan has been hemorrhaging money. It's spinning out of control. They went from that $2 billion loss that Jamie Dimon referred to as an asymmetric hedge, which of course is an oxymoron. You can't have an asymmetric hedge. You're either hedged or you have a directional bend.
But you can have an asymmetric teapot.
Well, that's clearly a French idiomatic expression I'm not familiar with. However, Pierre, there's some estimates that this $2 billion hole is now it's a $4 billion, $6 billion. I've seen estimates it's $20 billion. Is it just another Lehman Brothers? Is it going to zero on the stock?
Well, I have the feeling, that's my intuition, but so far my intuition was, you know, on the spot. I have the feeling that Mr. Jamie Dimon will not finish the year. He is going to be fired, you know. He's going to be fired from his office before the end of this year.
Now, he was rumored to be taking over for Tim Geithner, a Treasury Secretary.
Sure, that's you know, it will be even worse, my God.
Okay, so I want to get back to, now, Laurent Fabius.
Yes.
Fabulous Fabius says that the crisis did not start in Europe. Lehman Brothers was not a European bank, right?
Right.
That's clear, isn't it?
Yeah, it's extremely clear. It's diplomatic, so it's basically what Laurent Fabius was saying. So, you know, go beep yourself.
Yeah. And how is Hollande, Francois Hollande, the new president or prime minister or president, how's he doing with Merkel now, the German?
It's the relationship between Angela Merkel and Francois Hollande are quite bad. for one main reason, is that Angela Merkel, during the election, she said that she is, behind Nicolas Sarkozy. So that was not a very smart move from her. That's for sure. And we can say that she was not very smart in this last 6 months, between France and Germany. But and French socialists started the war against her 3 months ago. So this is going to deteriorate. I'm sorry, and we will see. The prices, the yields on the French bonds, go higher and higher progressively.
Right, I was going to ask you about that because we have Spain is now requiring a bailout. This is on top of the Greek rumor exit and Portugal. So where does Spain stack up? Is Spain now the next into the fire? I'm sorry, is France going to be the next into this fire?
I think Portugal will be the first because the last yields I've seen they were like 12%, on their bonds. So 12%, this is death. So Portugal, Spain, and I think yes, Italy. Italy is not very good shape with their bonds, and after yes, France. Yeah, France is the last one.
A few months ago, I got a text message from you. BNP had limited the cash withdrawals at the ATM machines.
It's even worse now.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yes, it's even worse. I'm receiving, from my readers that they cannot withdraw. They're going to Banque Postale because Banque Postale is one of the biggest French banks. And all the elderly people are there, so normal people, okay? And they cannot withdraw more than 250 or sometimes 3 Banque Postale. And most of the time, the whole computer network of the bank is just down. So nobody believes that they're down, but they just put it down because they don't have the money to serve people. So it's even worse. Caisse d'Épargne last week there was like flyers on the branches saying you cannot remove more than 800 or 900 euros, and like even 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago you can remove 2,000 euros, no problem.
Right.
So it's going down every day.
Is this causing people to think that there might be a bank run in France?
The bank run started already. People started to buy apartments, one-room apartments, or they started to buy gold and silver. That's for sure. They get rid of their life insurance stuff because everybody knows now that we are going to have a bank run in France too. It started in Spain. Spanish people are crossing the border to use their French ATM machines. This is a bank run. When French people will see that Spaniards are coming, on the French ATMs, they will start to remove their money too.
So last year, real estate in Paris was up 20%. It's one of the best performing markets in the world. And what you're saying is that's a stealth bank run.
Yes, all the Europeans who have some money, they just bought something in Paris, because our health system, healthcare. But now they stopped. So we started to see prices in Paris go down, and very fast. That's interesting.
Right, so these pockets of real estate strength, whether it's Australia, Canada, France, are now crumbling. Yes. China crumbling. London is still benefiting in the cosmopolitan
London is benefiting from the election of François Hollande. All the wealthy Parisian French people, they just left the country and they went to London because they don't want to have the 75% on the tax, cut. This is 75 is just too much.
And also in Greek, the wealthy Greek people are depositing their money in London now.
Yeah.
It's the hot money.
So once again, we see that London, London and Germany, they're concentrating all the money. And of course the Swiss, but Switzerland has a problem because, as you have seen, the National Bank of Switzerland started to make quantitative easings. This is crazy. Yeah, the whole situation is just, going down on the gutter. I don't know how to say that.
Yeah, the euro initially was brought in to bring harmony in the eurozone.
Well,
but it has failed.
It's bring misery, instead of harmony.
And is the bad guy once again Germany?
The bad guy. We cannot see that Germany is the bad guy. The Germans are protecting their interest, which is normal. Every country is protecting their interest. The point is that all the countries except Germany, they're bankrupt. Look
but when things get heated in a fog of a currency war, people can't say, well, they're protecting their interest. A lot of times, ancient animosities come out, scapegoating emerges,
yes.
and now you're at each other's throat.
Yes.
And you see that happening on the ground?
Yes, we started to see that, as I said previously, 3 months before the election, the French Socialist Party, they said a lot of trash about Germany and Angela Merkel, and it was really scary. It was really scary to see.
The guillotines used in the French Revolution, many of them still exist. They're in storage.
Yes.
So they can be pulled out of storage at any time.
Exactly. We can put some advertising, like Gillette, with
Gillette.
two
Branding.
Yeah,
And then start branding the guillotines.
Yeah.
Bring in some additional income.
Exactly, and we can put another blade, so it will be faster.
Great idea, Pierre. I'd love to talk more about this, but we're out of time. Thanks so much for being on the Keiser Report. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the Keiser Report with me, Max Keiser, and Stacy Herbert. I want to thank my guest, Pierre Jovanovic. He is the author of the best-selling book in France, Blythe Masters, soon to be published in English. If you want to send me an email, please do so at keiserreport@rttv.ru. Until next time, Max Keiser saying bye, y'all.